In February 2012, Firas Durrani, an Australian actor of Lebanese descent, criticised the commercial television networks for the lack of roles for people from different cultural backgrounds. He referred to shows such as Winners and Losers and Packed to the Rafters as not reflecting the real racial makeup of Australia in 2012. In support of Durrani's comments, Jay Lagaya, who is New Zealand-born and of Samoan descent, tweeted his own comments regarding his axing from the popular commercial soap opera Home and Away. Channel 7 took umbrage at the inference that they're racist. Lagaya called for the commercial channels to follow the example of children's television. In the brief flurry of media coverage following these events, editorial comment also backed the two actors in their call for fair representation. While the ubiquitous readers' poll threw up a similar opinion, individual reader comments showed a more divided opinion. As an interesting side note, Durrani's most prominent acting role to date was as King's Cross notorious nightclub baron John Ibrahim in Underbelly. Following on from this, Durrani said he had been offered plenty of other roles to play dodgy crims. His statement that he had to take stereotyped roles in order to be in a position to change the available roles is a further sad reflection on Australian commercial television. Actors Equity have also identified that where a dodgy crim role is on offer, it will generally be given to an actor of non-Anglo appearance. So, first things first. If education is going to mediate difference and dominance, what are difference and dominance? In the act of forming our own identity, our self, who we are and what we value, we throw up in opposition what we're not, what's referred to as the other. I'm female and married, so therefore I am not male, and I am not single, or divorced or separated. Female and married make up my part of my self-identity, my centre. Graphically, my gender looks like this. The arrow represents what's called an axis of identity. In this example, we're using the axis of gender, with the female belonging in my centre, and the male relegated to the other, to the margins if you like. The difference that we're talking about is the distance between myself and the other. When we add the axis of marital status, it looks like this. Note how the difference between married and single is not as great as the difference between divorced or separated. That's because I've experienced being single, but not divorce or separation. Dominance refers to society's majority for any particular axis. This is also known as the hegemonic group. Let's refer back to the event. For the axis of race, Australia's dominant Anglo-European group is seen as normal and natural, hence why most roles are cast as Anglo, and it takes an actor calling for a fair, culturally diverse representation for people to stop and question and think, rather than just accepting the norm. The available numbers of axes of identity are vast, as are the degrees of difference along each axis. What's important to us, as teachers, is understanding what you are not and what others are is just as important as knowing what you are. For this curriculum example, I've chosen to take a two-part approach. These explorations are aimed at the Foundation to Year 3 sector, and I wanted to keep them relatively simple. The first part is to simply introduce the concepts of difference and dominance and provide a positive focus for those who experience difference outside of the dominant group. By renaming the difference as uniqueness and making it special, I hope to remove the fear and anxiety that might be associated with being different. The second part is to actually use the event to provoke thought and challenge the dominance. The initial part of the project, to create some TV characters, is more of a benchmarking process to see what the children view as normal. This part can be done with drawings, collages from magazines. It may be purely physical, or the children might want to create some characteristics too. The introduction and explanation of the event can be kept simple or addressed in detail, as can the following research on the racial backgrounds. Depending on your school location, you may be blessed with a culturally diverse class, or you may have to resort to the judicious use of ABS census data snapshots. The analysis of the racial diversity found can be graphed on butcher's paper and placed on the classroom walls. The interesting part comes next: getting the children to recreate their characters to reflect the racial makeup of the selected group. Depending on the age of the children and the time available, you can extend the project to include scripts, sets, character experiences that also represent more accurately the racial background that you've chosen to look at. Just watch out for those stereotypes.